Wait, did it stop itself? It probably did. Sorry guys, it probably stopped or something. I don't know why the video stopped itself. Me. I'll figure it out. It probably stopped itself when I left, so.
You.
Don't know why the video stopped itself, but it's okay. I'll just add these two videos together. It'll be fine.
You were keen to play. That was fine with, you were keen, you'd play along with the others. You didn't really want to play. It was very, Mr. Holden, Mom, where's the fun in that? Join in. Yes, Mr. Cove, Dad, you love playing cards. Cove, Dad. Mr. Holden broke under the Mr. Holden, Cove, you're an adult now. You deserve to know the truth. Mr. Holden, I put up a good fight, but he toyed with the, Mr. Holden, I know people want to be taken seriously and fake wins don't mean as much, but I couldn't help myself. Mr. Holden, it's so much better when everyone else got the chance to be victorious. Kyra knew and Cove laughed in, Cove, so what? Lots of parents do that. Mom, that's right. What's the big deal? Liz, maybe even actual money in your case. Mr. Holden, I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Why?
Liz, and why not? He waved his hands expansive. Mr. Holden, it's just, actually, I am something of a card shark. Cove's jaw, Cove, really? There was, the other members of the Moon family exchanged looks, ranging from Liz's disbelief to Mom's intrigue, with Ma somewhere in the middle between. Liz, you can't simply make a claim like that and, Mr. Holden gave her a crooked Mr. Holden, you sure about that? Ma, definitely. Mom, we've gotta see this so-called, Mr. His, Cove,
Please?
Come on, please.
All right.
Devin, Cove. And, that was how the alliance came to be forged. With your combined efforts you pulled out a few victories. If these were his skills now, rusty with disuse, you actually wondered whether the increase. You spent the rest of the afternoon
That was you.
Cove pushed himself
Sorry
to
for
his
the
feet from where he had been
video.
bent down in the sand, stretching out his back and groaning softly.
Forgot to hit record and so.
A tired breath slipped past his lips as he wiped his brow, looking out over the shore. Cove, you stood beside him, joining in the surveying of the sand that almost, the two of you had been out on the beach since sunrise, cleaning up and down the beach looking for various debris. Using a hand to shield your eyes from blinding rays, it looked as though everyone was about ready to wrap things up for the day. I'm happy to see it in a better state. I'm just glad it's almost over. You did great. I'm happy to see. Devin, it was pretty sad looking when we got here. The beaches of Cove, too bad not everybody sees the joy in putting trash where it belongs. Oh, Cove play, you had begun to realize, during your time volunteering for the organization, how seriously Cove took his service. You felt equally as invested. You enjoyed the work. Miranda was right, you volunteered because it was a good you didn't want to. You felt equally as it was important that the ocean you grew up with was protected. It had always been a big part of your life,
Devin.
and you felt that the least you could do was give back to it in some way. Devin, thanks. Cove, it's been a good year so far. It's crazy to think that it's already time to push the big event. You let out a big breath, thinking of the formal dinner that Orca organized every year. Being a completely fundraising-focused event for large donors, it was crucial for the organization. You had to be over 18 to attend, so this was your first opportunity to. All you had heard about it so far was that you didn't know what else to expect from it, as you weren't a part of the group who planned the evening. Before the big night came around, the volunteers would have to sell the tickets for it, and I'm so excited, I'm nervous about the... I don't even really want to go, I'm curious about the night. You shrugged. I'm curious, Devin, it might be fun. Cove nodded. Cove, I just don't feel excited about attending a super formal meal. He threw, Cove, I've got sand all over my room and only one nice shirt and I go barefoot pretty much whenever I can. Right. I don't want to have to, I don't want to have to worry about manners. You can make it work for one night. Doing something that fancy will make it fun. Yep. You'll definitely seem out of, you didn't say anything. You can make, doing something that, Devin. Cove chuckled, a small, Cove, Cove, it's the organizers, Devin. Cove tuck, Cove, let's head over and drop the trash bag, with us, it would. You raised your hand for a high five. You nudged your shoulder against Cove's. You started pushing Cove on the back to move forward. You raised Cove's. Cove's. But, luckily, he was able to find a parking spot nice and close to where you needed to be. It would be your job for the rest of the afternoon to help sell tickets for the, that would hopefully help. The stall itself would, there were, volunteer one.
Not
Cove,
bad.
Cove. You, that's right, that's us. You laughed it off. You felt your own cheek, that's right, you felt your own cheek. Their teasing rubbed you the wrong, you shrugged it off. That's right, that's us. You felt your own cheeks get hotter. That's, Devin. The volunteer one, thanks for coming in for a shift. Cove, no problem, Devin. We're ready for whatever. One of, volunteer one, those are for the money box and supply kit. Volunteer 2, aside from handling the cash for the tickets, there's also a form on the clip. Volunteer 2, volunteer 1, there's a small Cove. Satisfied that you knew what you were doing, the volunteers said their goodbyes and the keys jingled. Devin, will bring in a lot of money. One, he leaned. You took the other seat. You stayed standing. You took the other, it was, we've got things under control. I was so stressed about getting, things could still go wrong. I'm glad this work lets us at least rest in one place. You rubbed at your, Devin, Cove, I like the way you think. Cove rummaged, you had, setting it, when he pulled it out and opened the lid you could see, grabbing one of the plastic bottles, Cove said, you accepted the water bottle, I brought my own, no, you, Devin, after opening it up, the two of you, Cove, seems like pretty standard stuff, he muttered. Cove tapped, when he glanced, you psyched yourself up, you were feeling anxious, you tried to relax for a bit, this is gonna be a pain. This, Devin, hi. How are you doing today? Time, all in your work. The days it was. You wanted some privacy. Liz was helping you pick out an outfit. Cove was on speakerphone. Liz was helping you get ready, while Cove was on speakerphone. You were currently, of course, the event had strict. You were happy to have the chance to dress fancy. You wanted to be practical about it. You weren't happy about
That's
Liz,
fine.
Cove, at this rate you're gonna have a better time picking out your outfit than at the park. Oh, aren't you helpful? Don't push me, Liz. Thanks for talking it through with me, Cove. You smiled, taking a deep breath. You chose a dress. You chose a button-down shirt. You chose a blouse. You chose a button-down shirt and a skirt. You chose a blouse and a... Liz nodded. Liz,
Good.
Finally, we're making some progress. Cove, That sounds like it'd be totally fine. Cove, I'm standing in front. You thought about adding an accessory or you liked your outfit as it was. It needed rummaging through. A necklace, a bracelet, a hat, a tie, a shawl, a ring. A bracelet. You couldn't leave the house. A bracelet, a bracelet, a watch, a necklace. Turning back to, and that was and with, You decided to apply makeup. You asked Liz if she could put on makeup. You were ready to go. You did mascara, lip bronzer, lip mascara, eyeshadow, drawn over body glitter, blush, use mascara. And that was everything. Cove. When you, Liz. Thank you. I do look good. Devin. And thanks for helping me out. Liz laughed softly and ruffled your hair, but only barely. Liz, you've got that one right. But you, Liz wiped a pretend tear away with, Liz, oh, precious Devin, you're really all grown up. It happened in the blink of an eye. She chuckled to her, Liz, all right, time to get downstairs. You're very official, though still kind of baby, boyfriend awaits. You carefully headed. As you entered, they both stood from the couch and came over to you. Ma, you look so wonderful, Devin. Mom, and very mature, too. Liz, I know, right? They continued to coo and fuss over you until you managed to brush them off. Ma took Mom by the arm and held her close, the two of them admiring you proudly. Thank you, you enjoyed the attention. Thank you. It felt a little strange to have everyone's attention on you, but you liked it nonetheless. Liz, Ma came in to give you one last hug. Mom, Ma, we won't wait up for you. With a laugh, stepping out into the night, you closed. Cove, hey, Devin. Devin, hey stranger. I barely recognize you. You took the chance. It was formal for sure. With a growing smile he stepped. Cove,
thank you.
Thank you for coming with me, and for dressing really nicely for this. Thank you. You felt shy over it? Thank you. You look amazing tonight. You glanced over him from head to toe. He couldn't stop, but turning away did nothing to disguise how transparently pleased he was with. Cove, thank you. Then he shook his head. Cove, we should probably get Devin. Yeah, let's go.
Oh glad I got to the update game. When the
you headed over to
updated,
Cove's car together, hopping in and
parts.
you were on your way. It took some time to find the though you were on time, it seemed like everyone else had already showed up and claimed. Eventually you, despite the small hole, Cove whistled low as he looked around, taking in the extravagance of the room. You were stunned. It's so nice. This is the best looking event I've ever been to. It's way too frilly for me. It's so overdone. Could be worse. You didn't come. It's so nice. You have seeing Cove, the sound of your names being called out. They approached you. Leader 1, Cove, Devin. We're glad to see you.
Of
Cove,
course.
Definitely. Ha. You say that as if we had a choice. I wouldn't miss it. Devin, this is our big night. Of course we had to see what we were working toward. Leader 2, well, thank you for being a part of the team. Leader 2, you're our best power couple, that's for sure. Cove let out an awkward. Devin, me and the boyfriend would be happy to. Cove shrugged then, eyes darting around the place with an awkward. Cove, I guess we should talk to more people. You, servers with large. Cove approached various people as you were enjoying talking to so many different people. The sound of a microphone crackling came. Someone who you and a few others joined you at the table, though they weren't anyone that you recognized. The host was still speaking as people were settling. She went up. Orcus go. When she his chest puffed out in pride at that. Your name. As she continued on to thank the large donors for the event, you checked over at Cove. He was still grinning happily to himself and tapping his fingers over the tops of his knees. You laughed quietly at. You rolled your eye. You were excited for him. You could relate to that feeling. You tried to. You were excited for you. It. While one of the host, anyone who had included a special diet. You just ate some of the bread. You just ate the salad. You ate both the salad and the bread. You just... Cove wolfed down. Cove, I hope the next part comes out soon. You could hear him mumbling. He glanced around it, stopping his head. It was clear that he folded his arms and turned away from Cove. Hey, did you like the salad? It was really good. It was too small. It was alright. It was pretty. You It. Divinv. I can't wait to see what his gaze. You gave Cove a pat on the head. You made silly faces. You picked up a breadstick and you discreetly flipped. You sat there quietly. His lip. It wasn't much. An array of scents. You had chosen the chicken. You had chosen the steak. You went with the vegan meal. You went with the vegetarian meal. You had chosen the chicken. A plate. Cove had gone. You're gonna choke if you keep inhaling your food like. You kicked him under the you put a hand on his thigh under the table. You flicked something at him. You focused. You flicked. You put a hand on. You're gonna. You let your. The table. Cove. Yes. Divin. Nothing. His fluster. Cove.
That's...
Divin. You should probably. Cove. You kept your hand where it was. Cove. You probably. Shouldn't keep doing that. Divin. Fine. It was a shame when you returned your hand. Dinner eventually ended and last of all was dessert. The mix of white. The effect was very pretty. Digging in, and unimpressed. You should appreciate what you got. You laughed at his moping. You are such a big. We can get more dessert later. You cleared your throat. He looked up at you sheepishly, embarrassed to have been caught sulking over such. Cove. It was just really good. With a slight grin. Would you like a bite of mine? You scooped up, his eyes wide, recovering quickly. He leaned forward over the table. As Cove swallowed the faux ocean and let out a satisfied sigh. Cove.
Thanks.
Divin. You're welcome.
Yeah.
You were pleased to see he was perkier, and you. Another person from Orca got up on stage to make a speech as everyone. They spoke mostly. Cove bent forward over the as they came to a conclusion and everyone gave them a round of applause. And then, the guests got, the DJ that had when you glanced at Cove Cove, I didn't know there would be dancing. He gave a small crowd had Cove let his gaze float over the small sea of guests who were, and then with a breath and the lift of his hand, he turned to you. Cove,
well,
wanna dance with me? Of course I do. I was just about to ask you the same. I don't really want to. His face. Accepting Cove's outstretched hand,
I have to choose
rose
it?
from
I
your
thought I
seats
picked
together
the
and
high
stepped out onto the floor.
frequency, so I don't have to choose shit all the time. Better just
When you
go
had
happen
found a
anyway.
spot for yourself, Cove gave you a small smile as you looked directly at him in front of you.
I guess
seemed-
would you be
Cove,
shy
I
about
don't
it?
know how to dance. He admitted with Divin. It's okay. I know. With a familiar, you wrapped your arms around. It was nice. Cove leaned his head in nearer to yours. His forehead so close to your. His breath was warm as he let out a contented sigh, tickling. Cove, you really do look so good tonight. You're such a gorgeous guy. Divin, you clean up pretty well yourself. He chuckled soft. Cove, have you had a nice time? Yes, I came here with you. I was having a pretty bad time. Well, I've had worse night. You leaned in and kissed him. His bright eyes. Cove, thank you for staying. Your heart. Cove, a lot has happened. Huh. You nodded, but it didn't. Thinking back on the years that you and Cove had. Cove,
I'm so glad.
I'm glad we ended up here. He gave you a soft look and it was more than that. You chuckled happily at the. You couldn't even speak. You're amazing. I think we have to tell your dad thanks. So am I. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. You loved him. His smile widened. You tightened. As the night drifted on, you held each other tight. Cove, he was extremely good at making you feel special. The party. When one final speaker came up, it was giving the space one more look. You walked together with Cove out to the parking. The parking lot itself was quite big. Eventually, the event had been the big. Outside your window, the surroundings soon became familiar. Cove pulled the car into Cove, home. Devin. Yeah. After you stopped in the middle of the street, right between your house and his. Strangely, he clamped his lips together. You also stayed silent. Good night. That was quite a night. Thank you for taking me tonight. This is kind of awkward. Ko. You kissed him good night. You patted him on the. You. Needing. He smiled as you separated, running his fingers over the side of your face.
Not being shy about it.
Ko. Night. When you reached your house, opening the door, your eyebrows lifted, you shared an amused smile before you both stepped into your own. It was as, now that you were finally home, it was still strange to think about how that was it. The build up to the event had felt like so much, now it was completely behind you. Your mind was busy with rapid yet muddled thoughts as you faded as unconsciousness, you could accept what it had been, and you could dream about what. And then, your eyebrows pinched together, but you heard another noise. Cove Holden. You slowly forced yourself. You went over to let the guy in. There was an. You had not been however, you also noticed that he was perched clumsily. Cove. Hi. Hi, Cove, why are you here? How come you're dressed like that? It's nice to see you, Romeo. You moved, when he was. Cove, I did go home after the event, but I knew I wasn't gonna be able to settle down. Cove, I needed fresh air and time away from everything. He paused for a moment, Cove, but then something happened and, what, Cove carefully sitting, delicately, Cove, they're back. He closed his Cove, honestly, I didn't think I'd see them this year. You could tell that the fact that his first thought after Cove opened his eyes, but he looked away. Cove, it's really nice.
Yes!
You smiled.
Save this.
Save. You smiled. Technically, fireflies aren't even gone. You waited for you, and then Cove looked at your face. Cove, it makes me think about the two of us. We're Cove, even if our time apart gets longer, that doesn't make it forever.
Devin.
You were so in love with him. You were so happy to be with him. Your heart started. You looked at Cove and found yourself fixated. It was as if your entire relationship was playing over in your mind. Everything from the first night you met, to how you started as little kids who were good friends and grew even closer, to the first time you saw fireflies together. Cove's expression had turned curious as you left him waiting. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. With your then, Devin, Cove. You stepped close. He used his other hand to shakily reach over. You cried with him. You wiped away his. You squeezed his hand back. You smiled. You gently. I love you, Cove. It's okay. I love. Cove removed the hand. He brought his voice. Cove, I love you. He closed his. Cove, I love you. His Cove.
Sorry.
Devin, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I can't get it together. Cove, it's just I tried so much to love you quietly. Secret. Cove, I just kept thinking what if you didn't? Cove, I didn't know how to handle that. Cove, you weren't doing something bad. Everything you do is right and wonderful.
Of course!
I'm
Cove,
always like this.
It wasn't your fault I had to be like that. He leaned in closer. Cove, but you love me. You love me. He moved his. Cove, I am so sorry. I'm really always like this. You kissed him. You held him. You gave. You. Cove managed to. Cove, I love you, Devin. I love you. He repeated it as he spoke. Cove, thank you for telling me. Cove smiled, his watery. I needed to tell you. You've always been lucky. I'm so happy to. I needed. You're welcome. It was only the truth. Cove held, he wanted. You kissed his lip. You kissed his neck. You nuzzled, while you bit. You kissed, you began, you only, Cove beamed at. You ran a hand through it, you grabbed his butt. You kissed, he made. You ran a hand. Cove, the slut. You pressed, then his eyes widened but he let you lead. Cove squeaked, you Cove's body was tense. You moved your hand. You Cove, he couldn't, Cove, Devin. Then Cove, you could tell you smiled a little and you couldn't help think how happy you were, how you were certain you wanted to spend your life with, how you were certain how happy you were to be with him. You would, finally, he was able, you felt good to, Cove looked into your eyes, Cove, do you want to go to the hill with me? Yeah. Cove bright, Cove.
So,
How should we leave? You both chucked, but you wanted to use the front, you could leave from your window. Cove not, you were. He leaned
are you okay?
You nodded yes. You got. And Cove let out a contented sigh. Then, without warning, he put an arm under his head and stretched the rest of his limbs out. You kept standing. You sat down. You laid down in the grass. Then you wrapped an arm around Cove. Then you snuggled against Cove. He tugged at the collar, Devin. At least they're dark. His smile bent a. You couldn't help, was it even real? What happened between you two? You stole a glance at Cove. You continued watching Firefly. You wanted to catch some fire. You asked Cove if he wanted to catch Firefly. Cove turned. Cove, I think that sounds like a plan. You smiled. You got up. Every so often one of you would succeed. Like the children you once were. What had actually changed? The hour grew late, and Cove stole a second. Cove, I love you, Devin. You felt a great deal of happiness. Cove's expression was, no
so
matter how
adorable.
much it didn't seem real yet. It
Shit
felt
like
as though this was a night that would never end. But you knew, these... Like a lazy cat, you stretched your arms above your... The day was warm and pleasant.
I told you
and
we
you were
do 3
lounging
now
on the couch
because
in the
it's
living room,
almost like...
finding it difficult to do. Your moms and Liz had gone out shopping,
I
looking
might
for some
record
new
this
items
on
for
a
your sister
Monday,
to take
I
back and
don't
decorate
know.
her college dorm with. They had asked, Cove had the two of you. You were sitting next to him. He sat on one couch while you were fully stretched out on the other. You were stretched out across him as he sat on. You were. You had. His movement had jostled you, so you tried to readjust your position.
Oh.
Cove, it's my mom. After leaning, Cove, hey, what? Kyra.
Oh, damn, Kyra!
Hello, Devin.
Her hair!
You made us, Kyra. Cove made a small, outraged, Cove, that's not junk. Kyra, MHM. Though you couldn't see, Kyra, but is that a yes or no about? He looked over at Cove, I'm still thinking about it. Devin. Cove, I'm gonna take the phone off speaker so. Without, he hit the after, your mom, it was an effective. You watched, Cove.
Hey.
You gazed up at him fondly. Devin. So, good or bad news? He turned, Cove.
Fine.
It's fine. You raised, Devin. That doesn't explain what, he shrugged, Cove. There's nothing going, he was, eventually, he broke beneath your, Cove. I need to make another trip to my mom's place. Cove. It wouldn't make sense to ship it, and I couldn't bring the stuff back with me last, Devin. Oh. Suddenly, Devin. When will you go? Cove. Mom thinks it would be best to do it now. Cove. I don't want to. Cove. Why do I have to leave? You laughed. I don't want you to go. You laughed. You thought it was cute he wanted to stay. You can hack it? You shook your head. Looking up,
Oh.
Cove. Oh. Sudden, Cove. You could come with me. Devin. Cove. 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 Plus you'd have the chance to see my mom. You couldn't. Cove.
Please?
Devin. I'd love to. Devin. I'll have to let my mom's know. He grinned from. He put both his hands on your cheeks, kissing your. Then he wrapped his. Cove.
I'm so glad.
I'm so glad. You needed to fit it in
what?
around both of your. Luckily, it was only a 2-day trip. It wasn't long before the dates were finally set. You were excited for the trip. You were content with the plans. No. With your travel bag, he had. Cove insisted he had. As you waited. It was pretty old. The slam of a door closing made. Cove. That's it? Devin. Yeah. He smiled and. Cove.
Alright.
We should get started. Woo. You gave him a high five. You hugged him. You smiled. He seemed surprised. The two of. Cove.
Thank you.
Thanks again for coming on the. Devin. Hey, I'm doing this for me too. After checking with a small sigh, you got cozy. Cove reached over to turn on the radio. Mr. Holden's car was in good condition, but it was, well, older. Eventually he settled on classic rock station. Cove, is this okay? Yes. Yeah, it works. You nodded. Yeah. Neither. Cove, it's been too long since you and I have spent time with. Cove, I'm happy the two of us are doing this. Devin. Yeah, me too. Your elbow resting, the sun climbed high. Cove, hey, do you mind reaching back for me? Cove gave. Cove, I want some chips. That's a great flavor. I don't know how you can eat that. Cove,
Right?
Right? Eat whatever you want, stretching. It took a. Devin. Here. Cove, thanks. His eyes lit up at the prospects of the snacks and you poured a few chips into his hand. You held the open bag out towards him. The sound of crunch, ultimately, after that when you turned to the front, it was to find Cove crushing the fistful of chips into his mouth. He wiped his hand on. You're like a little kid. You laughed at that. How can you eat that? You laughed. It was. Eventually you had to stop for gas. After COVID, you took shifts driving throughout the trip. You helped Cove stay alert while you. When night. Cove, we made it. The two of you. You took.
Oh shit! Kyra's house
There
looks
he is.
better.
My job. She squeaked. Kyra, are you even taller than the last time I saw you? Cove gave. Cove, you say that every time I'm here. Kyra simply. Kyra, Devin. It's so nice you came. Devin. It's good to see you, Kyra. Kyra beamed at you both. Kyra, so, how was the trip? We barely made it. I appreciate your concern. You felt the fussing was unnecessary. You let Cove answer that. Cove, it was fine. Kyra clapped her. Kyra, I'm so proud. Cove ran ahead.
I don't
Cove, I don't know. Maybe I got some from my parents. His mom. Kyra, you have to be half asleep already. Kyra. Cove, Devin can use my bed. Kyra laughed out loud. Kyra, oh yeah, you'll just stay on the floor. Cove blushed.
Hey!
Cove, Mom. You blushed. You laughed it off. He's had a long day. Yep. She's right. You were annoyed. You put a hand on Cove's arm in a show of support. He's had a long day. Cove, Kyra, you're right. I'm just so happy you're here. I'll take the floor. I'll sleep on the couch. Thank you for letting me have the bed. Cove, you're the guest. All right, I'll have the. I don't want to take your bed. Cove, the two of you narrow. Kyra, my house, my rules. That you hesitate. Devin, all right. Cove, cool. Cove, so, would you be okay with me sleeping on the floor in the? I'd prefer if you were on the couch. Yeah, you can. Kyra giggled softly. Kyra, all funny stuff aside, you need to get some. Kyra. Cove, come on, we're not little kids having a sleepover. You. Yes, very responsible. No, we're not. Well, I am. Cove is. You simply smiled at him. Kyra, I'll leave it at that then. Cove, will be good. Kyra, perfect. Kyra clasped. Kyra, it's only getting later. She nodded. Kyra, Devin, thank you. You, Cove shuffled along. The apartment was small, it was stylish, and exactly what you would have expected from someone like Kyra.
Like what the fuck?
After being shown the bathroom, and wishing Kyra a good night, he had changed into his sleepwear. Looking around, all in all, the room. Cove only spent a few weeks out of the year. Cove,
So?
what do you think?
Look at this. This is
pretty
cute.
nice.
I love it, JJ.
It's a great room. It seriously looks like a hotel room. That's sweet of her. You nodded. That's sweet of her. It's a great room. It seriously looks like a hotel room. Cove, a really good hotel room. Cove huffed, and when you closed your eye.
Night.
Cove, night, Devin, good night. The room grew quiet as the two of you wound. The noise out there was so different to what you were used to. Cove shifted around in his sleeping bag, making the fabric crinkle loudly. Cove, are you really sure you don't want the bed? Why don't we share? Devin, it's big enough. Cove inhaled deeply. Cove, I told my mom I was gonna stay on the floor. You frowned. Devin, did you really plan on going through with that? Cove, and no. He hesitated, the sleeping bag rustled again. He took, and then he paused. Devin, well, what are you waiting for? You shuffled. He exhaled a heavy breath. You smiled softly through the dark. He raised his fingers and delicately, his touch was warm. When his eyes met yours again, then he froze, his muscles tensing as he attempted to whisper something. With that, you bolted upright in the bed. Devin, are you okay?
I'm
Cove,
always like
I
this.
thought it'd feel like it did before, when we were younger. But it's different now. He panted deep. After. Cove, sorry. You understood. You were disappointed, you were amused, you were not pleased. It was kind of flattering. We can always try again another. You don't need to apologize. Thank you for trying. You don't need to apologize. I'm not surprised that you didn't say anything. You don't need to apologize. You had woken up on your own. You reached over to turn off. You reached over to the sound. Sitting. You felt okay. You still felt pretty groggy. You felt okay. You were quite refreshed. Cove, pretty good. Devin, yeah. He was Devin, hey. Cove,
Hey.
You nodded. Heading over to his. After a while, it became clear to you that Cove was acting strange when it happened a few more times before you couldn't take the awkwardness. Devin, is everything okay? Cove,
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. He quietly. Cove, about not staying in the bed with you. Cove, I know you try not to mind or be mad at me, but I wish I didn't have to make you accept me backtracking all the time. He swallowed. Cove, I do think it felt nice, really. Cove,
I mean,
laying together like that. His cheeks. I get it. It was that intense for you. I'm sorry to bother you. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's you not. It was that intense for you. Huh. I'm sorry to bother. It was that intense for you. Huh. Cove. His eyes wide. Devin, will you? Cove, probably. Devin, okay, next time then. Cove, yeah, yeah. How about we go back to packing? With it. Cove, when you turn.
neat.
Cove, you're craning your head, a small stack, he kept them the whole time. You don't have to hold onto those forever. I was only lending you those, I think I'll. It's adorable that you care so much. It's adorable. He saw. Cove, they bring back some good memory. A faint blush of. Cove,
nice.
These are special.
It
It was important, having a piece of you with me when. Devin, I feel the same way. Cove smiled. Cove, and did you keep the souvenirs I brought back? Of course. His, Cove, thanks. Another, you took a minute to. Cove glanced over. Cove, you know, it's really strange to see you sitting in this room. Devin, why? He frowned a. Cove,
That's...
during the visits to Mom's, when I was sitting alone in this room. I'd sometimes think about how you weren't here. Cove, it was a weird feeling at the time, that you just weren't around, and now that you are here, in this exact place. He shrugged it off and Cove, life is pretty confusing. I didn't know you thought about me when you were away. That's true, life, I missed you so much when you were gone. You smiled at him. Cove, I missed you too. It made, he looked away, before, with a sigh. Cove,
Alright.
We're done. Devin, yeah. When the Cove, hey, you didn't have to get up so early.
Come
Kyra,
on.
are you crazy? Of course I have to see you off before. She beamed at him. Kyra, do you want some breakfast? Cove, that's okay, we should really eat on the. Kyra smiled. Kyra, I thought you might say that.
What do you
Kyra,
think?
even if you don't end up eating them, take it anyway. Cove laughed. Cove,
Thank you.
Thank you for the snacks. That's nice of you to organize this for us. Cove scoffed. Kyra, I don't doubt it. She returned your. Kyra, well, I'll help you get the car packed. Cove,
Sure.
Then. Kyra, it was great to see you both. Thank you for coming. She gave each of you a hug. Cove, it was good to see you. Cove, I'll miss you.
Of
Kyra,
course.
you better. Cove, hey, we should make plans for you to visit us. Kyra, I'd love that. Kyra bundled.
Kyra
items.
looked like
She
she
prepared
died.
into a
Like,
bag and
oh,
handed
I
them
love
over.
that.
There was fruit, nuts.
Cool.
Oh. Kyra shook her head at him and let out a. Kyra, I seriously hope you're feeding yourself better than. Cove, yeah. Kyra, I can live with that then. She looked. Kyra, I'm going to miss you. Cove,
Me too.
Me too. Goodbye. Thank you for letting us come, we'll all be together again. Kyra put an arm around. Kyra. Cove. Devin. Everything okay? Your voice.
Come
Cove.
on.
Yeah. With that. The draw. After a while you switched places with Cove and took over. The day flew by in a whirl. By that point, you had already crossed the state line. The Redwood National Park, shaded beneath. There were too many. You squinted against the sunlight. Cove, it's great, right? He smiled. Cove, remember the trip our families took? Cove,
So...
and I guess we can stay for even less this time. Cove, it just seemed like a good time to. His voice got a little softer at. You were pleased to have stopped there. You felt pretty good about being there. Thanks for bringing me here. There will be more chances in the future. Cove, I'm gonna hold you to that.
Damn!
You took in a lungful of clean. However you felt about being there, it was a totally different scene than. You wrapped an arm around. You took Cove's hand. You felt Cove nudge your hand. You took Cove. You looked over at Cove, smiling. You know we spent the night in the loft together. Elizabeth teased us merciless. Our families were so close. Remember how a bird stole your dad's life? Cove, I was stupider then. You had to. Devin, there was barely enough room for the two of us, but it was fun. Cove chuckled. Cove, it was memorable. He laughed. You continued. A lot of the memories Cove had of the trip were similar to your own, but you were also surprised to hear of a few other things from his point of view. So much had. Cove, hey, Devin. You looked over. Cove, has anyone ever told you before that you have gorgeous eyes? The words left his lips and you froze. Completely he blushed, but his gaze remained. Cove, that's another thing that happened during the trip. You're so sweet. Your eyes are much more beautiful. You put a hand to your forehead. You found it difficult to. You bit. Cove sighed. Cove,
Well,
I wish we didn't have to go. Devin, How grown up of you. He smiled. Cove. His face immediately brightened at the sound of it. Sitting back in his seat, he bobbed his head and shimmered. Occasionally, he even... You smiled. You chuckled soft. You shook your head. You sang along. Every now and then a word would be... The song ended. You rest. The mile. Cove. You know, I've spent all these years living in Sunset Bird, and taking a few weeks each summer visiting my mom, in that second Cove. That's not gonna happen anymore, not really. Cove, I can still see my parents, but the way it all works between us has changed for... He paused. You should lighten up. I feel the same. I'm worried about how things will be. I'm excited to be on the brink of real adulthood. Devin, Cove stared. Eventually, Cove,
I'm so glad.
I think, Cove, I don't know, I feel a little more independent now. Right. I've felt ready for a while now. I'm not sure I'll ever be ready. I've felt ready. Devin, it's exciting. The top, Cove, so, I'm kinda sad about getting back. He cleared his, Devin, I'm gonna miss it too. And with the you felt somewhat disconnected from, it was a strange, reflective feeling. Soon enough the world would return to you, and you'd find your feet firmly on the adventure would end.
The adventure of season 3. I can't do it in DLCs because I don't have
Move
them.
to the next.
I'll get them next year. We'll
Moths bounced
revisit
against
this
your
and do the
window.
DLCs next
Liz
year.
would, she'd officially, you flicked through the, it was hard, while you were still with each other, your family was going to have dinner together. You were going to the Chinese restaurant, your destination was that tropical place. You were going, while idly gate, there was, you took a deep breath and read it. You opened it instantly. You hesitated, you opened it you were ecstatic. You were relieved. You tried your best to fit, but your drinks, Cove, as greetings were being exchanged, Cove took a seat opposite to you. It had been left empty by unspoken acknowledgement that you and Cove would be wanting to sit together. Mr. Holden sat beside him. Lee,
Hi.
it's great to see you.
I see.
They're growing.
Okay.
Cove nodded. Cove, yeah. Lee,
Very nice.
that's great. Everyone react.
That's a shame.
If only we'd known. Here we are. Mom, chin up. Lee and Liz will still be here tomorrow. Ma smiled. Ma, that's true. There's plenty to celebrate, right? Mr. Holden. Mr. Holden. He barely let a Cove shied from the Cove. Well, it's just, I've switched over to working full-time instead. He flicked his Cove. I'll be pretty busy going apartment. Mr. Holden gripped one of Mr. Holden, incredible. Mr. Holden leaned. Mr. Holden, I wasn't convinced I'd be able to rear a kid all the way to this point. Cove blinked, despite his Cove.
Thanks.
I was Mr. Holden, he rubbed his cheek. You were all heading in different. Your heart swelled with pride for everyone. It was bittersweet. The thought, your heart, you were sure that you would face each day. You couldn't wait. Cove, I'm gonna stretch my legs while we're, Mr. Holden, with the time, Cove, wanna come? He was you watched him with concern, Devin, yeah, Ma. Devin, what did you need to he had, Cove, well, I wanted to talk to you, Cove, I mean, Devin, yeah, Cove stopped, Cove, I'm glad you think so. But then he looked down, Devin, are you looking forward to it? Cove, I am. Cove, well, I'm trying to be. He ducked, Cove, but, it's scary. I don't want things to end. Come on, you don't need to worry. You're going to do great things. So, you're saying you're going to dress up as the future for Halloween. You're, Cove, Cove then Cove, Cove, his word, Cove,
That's...
I'm not just talking about today. Cove. You were as worried as he was. You got mad at him for the, Why did you have to bring this up now? You began to tear up. I don't know. You should already know the answer to that. Cove, I'm so sorry. Cove, I didn't want to make you feel bad. Cove, out of the you felt, Devin, I need some air. Cove, you step, you unlocked the car with a shake. While another text came in, you looked, you cried, you groaned loudly, you sat completely still. Then you relax, empty your mind of worry, distract yourself, work through your emotions. A few minutes passed by. You wanted to text Cove where you went so he didn't worry. You wanted to ask Cove to come see you. You knew, hey, I need you. Cove okay. I'm here. Devin, when you looked up, you were Cove stood up. He'd been sitting on the pavement. He pointed you nodded. Cove walked, he tried. His hands flinched when he got halfway through putting on his seat belt before he Cove, everyone cared when you left the restaurant. He gripped the side of his cushion and regarded his lap.
Downstairs. It's not my job to take him out when I'm not downstairs. It's the people who downstairs got shoes. Come here. Go outside. Outside. Back to walk my dog.
Cove, like, Liz. She told me I'd better not be making things worse or I'd never be considered a trusted adult for the rest of my life. Cove, but yeah, everyone's here for you even if it, Devin, I get it. Cove stared, Cove, you can do it? He gripped your shoulders, and you knew that he was doing his best to project confidence. Yeah, you're right. He nodded and Cove then studied you from over his shoulder with a soft he twisted his body to the side. Cove, come on, I'm gonna hug you. You pulled yours. He turned so that he was completely. You settled down against him and leaned again. He wrapped both. He kissed your forehead gently and you, despite the he was right here, and he was right here, and he cared. Cove, hey, Cove, hey, Devin. His voice was, Cove, I have a great plan. Cove, we can just stop thinking about the future and all of that. You had no idea. Cove, I'll still get that little apartment and you can move into. Cove, he lightly, Cove, you can probably find a job there too. Cove, and then we'll do that forever. Cove, what do you think? You laughed. You laughed through tears. You smiled. You shook your head. You lightly swatted Cove's arm. You laughed. You smiled. Your lips quirked. It's perfect. Cove, that plan sucks. There's no way we're doing that. Is it bad that I actually like the sound of that plan? Cove, not, Cove chuck, Cove, I'm pleased you agree. What kind of pretzels will we sell? We will have pretzels for our meals too. We better research the apartment we get well. Devin, I don't want to be stuck with a sad place to live forever. Cove, true. We'll find the ideal place. We'll fill it with clocks to symbolize. It'll be modern and sleek. I want it to be cozy. Cove, sounds good to me. It was fun. Cove, Devin. He started. Cove soft. Finally, Cove, no matter what, you can count on me whenever you need. Cove, we're becoming more independent, but you're never actually alone in this world. Cove, I love you so. Thank you. You nodded without a word. Sounds like I'll never be rid of you then. You reached. Cove responded easily and kissed you back with a smile. You considered the thought of living with Cove, in his tiny apartment. I'd be fine living with you. Cove, really? Cove beamed. Cove turned. Cove, I guess. Cove. He paused. Cove, thanks, Cove. Yeah, it really will be nice. You appreciate. He smiled. Cove, looks like we're heading back just in time. Devin. You felt nervous. Liz took it. Liz, thank goodness you're back, Devin. Lee, it's a hair tie. Even just coming into the argument, you could tell they were just joking around. It's a hair elastic. Lee's right, they're called hair ties. Thin scrunchy. Liz, traitor. Your mom. Ma, are you alright, Devin? You nodded. The warmth of everyone's love comforted you. You decided to tuck this treasured feeling close to your heart. After, the rest of the night felt like it was going by. You pulled your covers up, as your head sank into your pillow and you could see it all now, behind your eyelids, and then the image of Cove popped into your head. You decided to send him a text. You texted him to come over. Do you wanna come over? You chewed. If you were being, your heart, okay. A breath, each second seemed to drag on and on. Finally, you heard those familiar. When you slid the window up, he was in an amusing, one safe. Cove, what can I do for you?
I like that.
I didn't want to be alone. You said nothing. I was bored. You hugged him. Clutching, he kissed you back. Cove, was that the whole reason? He hesitated. Cove, to kiss me. It's not the only reason. The bed sank, his hands, you sat Cove, I'll stay as long as you want, Devin, Cove, yeah. You can go home soon, you don't have to stay. How long do you want to stay? Cove, well, to be honest. There aren't a lot of situations where leaving you is ever what I want to do. Cove, you chuckled softly, Devin, okay, you
That's
don't
because
have
I
to go
get
anywhere.
so much attention.
His face lit, Cove, it won't have been the first time I've slept in your room. You snickered. Well, looks like you might be getting the floor yet again. Okay, but there's no way I'm letting you take the floor. Cove, here we go again. You roll. No, seriously, you can have the bed. His eyes, but you were firm about, your gazes stayed, as you stared each other. Cove, you know I'd be more comfortable on the floor than the bed. Devin, get over it already. Devin, it's my house, so I get to make the rules. He pouted. Cove, Devin, Cove, so, that's it. I'm not gonna be the only one with a bed tonight. You raised an, Devin, does that mean you'd share it with me? Cove, yeah, Devin, really? You'd actually stay and not leave to be on the floor? He nodded. Eventually, Cove, there, I've made a compromise. Okay, I'll take the bed. We'll both have the bed. He swallowed. Cove, we're gonna share the bed. You could hear the tremble, he let out. Cove, it's gonna be alright. His mouth said, it's not that serious. You felt nervous about it, you were glad he was making the effort. It only took a Cove, ready. Devin. He, laying as straight as a steel rod. You rested on your side and, Devin, do you need more time? Cove, no. Please don't go, I just, ever so slow, his eyes shut, but he didn't. He stayed right where he was.
Don't worry about it.
You don't have to worry about, you nodded in, after, eventually, Cove, thank you for waiting, again. He laughed shyly.
Are
Cove,
you okay?
Are you? Yes, I am now that you are. I'll always wait for you, Cove. He squeezed, he shuffled closer, an inch at a time.
Of course!
You let him hold you. You stayed like that. You grasped his shirt. The room grew. Cove's heart was pounding. Cove, you know. I'm not scared of you. Cove, I'm afraid of what if hypotheticals that aren't actually real but I think about anyway. Cove, I'm scared of my own feelings and, Cove, and I'm afraid, because tomorrow things will be different between us. He held, Cove, it's normal right now to see you during the day and part ways at night. Cove, except for special exceptions. A little laugh escaped. Cove, it's easier to stay where I am than it is to make myself move. He hesitated. Cove, when did doing the easy thing get so hard? Cove, 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 and then on the other side, I absolutely can't stop myself from doing it.
I'm
Cove,
always like
I
this.
hate it. Cove, Cove, and I don't want to miss out on being happy by being like this. Cove, you don't give up on me. You've been there whenever I've really needed it. It's who you are, and I accept you. His eyes, Cove, good night. Devin, good night. He leaned forward. Cove, Devin, I love you too.
I'm glad we got over that.
You were still cocooned in his warmth. Before long you're shuffling up, his arms continued. You smiled. It had. You quietly watched him sleep. You stroked his cheek gently. You ran a hand through his hair. The familiar. His eyes fluttered as his memories caught up with him. Cove, morning. Good morning. You shyly kept quiet. You snuggled again. His breath rested on Devin. Cove. When you tilted your I guess we should get up. He sounded it would have been. Yeah, I guess we should. You nodded quietly. 5 more minutes. Cove, we have to. My mom is coming today. You, Cove stretched. You watched. Cove, so, that was fun. Devin, yeah, me either.
Me too.
Cove, with a last, shared smile. The two of you headed out of your room. It was Cove. It took a moment for anyone to speak, but soon enough a chorus of greetings drifted. Cove. Hi. Liz. Oh yeah, I bet you did. Liz snorted. Lee, I've been out here for quite a while and never saw you come through. Cove.
Well,
A blush. Mom, you're also still in your pajamas. Mom let out a little. Cove looked down. Ma, you know, I always guessed you had been sneaking in. Mom nodded in agreement. Mom, that's something I wouldn't have bet against. Liz, you've definitely gotten too comfortable with their sneak. Lee,
Very nice.
you still did good. Lee smiled from where Lee, surely you can't be punished too. Ma, I'm not so sure about that. Ma crossed.
No.
Ma, we may have to have retroactive
sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. It's not my fault. It was my fault. Not. Devin. Cove, that's not true. At that moment,
Don't
Mom,
worry about it.
we're merciful. Don't. Ma, that's true. Mom, besides, you're in good company. Liz,
Rude.
excuse me, that's conjecture. They exchanged
Let
smiles.
me,
Before Ma
go
turned-
out.
Ma, they were in. Mom, especially because he's likely quite distracted and excited by thoughts of reuniting with Devin while climbing around in the dark. Mom joked. Cove leaned. Cove, I'm sorry, Devin. Devin, forget it. My family are the ones going at it. A knock at Mr. Holden, morning. Mom,
Hello.
surprised at that. Meanwhile Cove went through. Mom, it's been too long. Kyra, I know. Time's been flying. Kyra,
Oh.
and it's so good to see my son, finally. Continuing on his. Cove.
Sorry.
Well, it's not like anyone's surprised. I'm sorry too. Hi. You don't have to make little comments about it. I'm sorry. You blur.
It's
Kyra, it's okay. Kyra gave his back a few reassuring pats, but Cove's face seemed to. Kyra, my not so little mister is spreading his wings. Mom immediately brought a hand to her. Mom, it's just a really
She
pretty
really just
phrase,
made that joke.
considering Cove's current attire. She pointed at the feather. Kyra, oh. Everyone turned their attention. Kyra, that's so true. All the parents burst into continued laughter.
They're going to figure out
Kyra,
anyway.
it's really nice to be back. Mom, enough of standing around out there. Mom, we still have some great spices and
Of
Ma,
course.
there were eager nods from Miss Cove. Maybe, instead of staying here, why don't we go to the beach? Mr. Holden, a scenic picnic, and Mr. Kyra, oh. We could really make a day out of it. Ma, that sounds lovely. Every sandwiches had to be made. You also decided to bring the bottle of lemon lime soda. You were happy with what was an hour. The more Cove, hey, Devin,
I do love me some lemon lime soda.
Cove,
So?
Devin, wow.
I can
each-
love
Cove,
lemon lime
that had
soda.
you,
That's
Devin,
my favorite.
they-
It's like cream soda.
Ma,
You alright
Mom,
with that?
Kyra,
Okay.
Mr. Devin. With a beaming smile you, at that. You dug it out. It was Derek. Devin. Hey.
Hey.
This is a surprise. Derek. Nope. I have not. Devin. A very good one. He chuckled at Derek. So what's up? The voice that, Derek, have you been enjoying these crazy summer days? Yeah, it's been amazing. There's been ups and downs. Yeah. It's been amazing. Derek, that's awesome. You'll have to catch me up on that. Devin. But what about you? You were Derek, honestly, I've just been slammed with stuff lately. I bet you're even more toned than the last time I saw you. Laugh, Derek, totally. Devin, what about your family? Derek, my little brothers are little punks, but I guess they're doing alright. You both, Derek, Mom and Dad are fine. Devin, that's great. turning your Devin, actually. Derek, Devin, I'm out with my moms right now. Derek, oh, that's fun. Devin, are you sure? Derek, uh-huh. I'm sure, Devin, okay. Bye. Derek, bye. Hanging up. You hurried, Devin. So what's the verdict on those invitations? Cove, they're gonna come. Devin, yes. Excited,
Yeah.
Cove, they'll meet us here later today. Shouldn't be, Devin, I can't wait. While on, you messaged him to come down to the beach. You decided not to ask. More, he played.
Hello, folks. Thank you.
Baxter, Devin, you waved from where you leave. Devin, Baxter, so am I. It was, he turned, Baxter, Kyra. A few giggles escaped.
Hi.
Lee, hi, Baxter, I'll remember that. After,
In
Ma,
that case,
we could,
that
Miranda,
all right?
Ma, of course. Miranda, Liz, I don't feel like playing. Mr. Holden, I could be the ref. Cove, I'm in. Ma, excellent. Mom, volleyball's a good idea. Lee. Terry.
Really?
Mom,
Great.
I'd be interested in trying my hand at that too. Baxter.
Absolutely.
I'll play volleyball. I'll make some jewelry. Now that, Mr.
Anyway.
Holden. Miss.
Well?
Ma. She walked over to you and hooked her arm around. Ma, I wanna be on Devin's team. You paired up with Ma. Would it be okay if I was Ma, I had a feeling you might ask that. Ma gently.
I
Ma,
understand.
it's okay. Marily, Ma, can I count on you today?
Yeah.
Miranda. When
It's
Mr.
time
Mr. Holden, sounds like, Ma,
Yes.
Mr. Holden, good. The four of you situated,
She
Mr.
got
Holden,
angry today.
since, Ma, thank you, Cliff.
Yeah.
You shot Liz a look and raised your hands like, Liz, sorry, Devin. She is kind of your boss. You turn, across, you're going down. Do your worst. Good luck. You quietly got. Ma quirked and Ma, are you sure about that, Devin? 100%. Ma giggled. Ma, well, I'll do my best. In the battle, and the game went on for quite a while. From a distance, on top of that, they would hold up each. It wasn't. The afternoon continued to. Cove was thrilled when you pulled out the drink you had been. That was worth the occasional. The beach, at one point. As that short. Mom, hey there, kiddo.
How
Ma,
are you?
how are you, Devin? I'm doing great. They both sat down. Nothing more was said at first. Ma, we're both really proud of you, Devin.
True.
Mom, you grew up to be more than we ever could have hoped. Thank you. You were touched,
Thank
Mom. Devin. But still, I wouldn't be here without either of you. Ma rapped, you stayed there, until Mr. Holden, we were talking and think we're gonna take a walk down the automatic. Mom, that sounds good.
That's
Ma,
fantastic.
Devin, thrilled. Mom, hey,
Of course.
don't leave us in the dust. Cliff kept,
No
Mr.
worries.
Holden, don't worry. Mom. Devin. When Liz went to get your feet squished into. Once the sun had the closing of the day, on the beach, Terry and Miranda took turns compressing Cove in a hug before moving on to Devin, that's okay. Miranda, but still. I wish we could help clear this all. Cove, don't worry about it.
Yep,
Miranda, oh yeah, I'm super glad we came. Nodding,
See
Terry.
you later.
After you waved too. Bye. Have a safe trip back. Miranda, Terry, bye. Taking, she kept, Ma, Devin. Mr.
on.
Holden, hey, Cove, could you come here? Tons, with a once thing, the walk back home and
Thanks.
Baxter, it really was a pleasure. His head tilted. You used your freer hand to shake his. You waved goodbye instead. I think we did end up as good friends.
Glad to hear it.
Baxter, it was Baxter. Devin, bye. Cove, yeah, bye. Baxter, not
Goodbye.
You paused for a Lee. Mom, seems like you're holding up some surprise. Mom, would you mind dropping it off now? Looking, Cove snorted. Mom, you can hack it. And you laughed half. Cove took a few.
Good
Mom.
night.
Cove, night. Thing. Her teasing tone brought a light smile to your face. You have the stuff in your arms Devin. I ended up with things of yours from the beach. Mr. Holden. Oh. Miss Cove, putting your You went over to where the others. You accepted. You shook your head a little. Kyra, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Devin, you're welcome. Kyra
Thank
Kyra.
you.
Mr. Holden took a step. Mr. Holden, thanks for always being such a friendly neighbor. Mr. Holden, I really, truly,
Thanks
Mr.
very much.
Holden, thanks again. At that, I'm really glad that you're my neighbor. You hugged him. But Devin, thanks for moving in. As you Mr. Holden, you smiled. Then,
Don't worry about it.
don't worry about all that. I'll put stuff away in a few minutes. Devin, right? Cove, I figured. Cove, he leaned his Cove, so, this is it. Cove, actually, that's not what I mean. His
Bye.
Cove, I'll just Devin, yeah, bye. You offered him. Cove reached for, mesmerized by his blue. He met you halfway as you smiled into one of his hands. For a small you blew him a kiss. Good night, you, Cove, Devin. I hope you'll treasure that, Cove, forever. Things. A few. Mom, I'm bushed. Liz, yes, honestly. Lee,
Thanks.
please and thank you. Ma put.
All
Ma.
right.
Liz, Lee, good night. Lee, I hope you have the loveliest of dreams. Lee ended. I hope you have good dreams too. You hugged her back. You pulled. Devin, I hope you sleep well too. Lee, oh, I totally will. Lee, here's to us, Devin. You smirked at. Yeah. You smirked at that. Yeah. Thanks. Lee. That got a Lee stretched her arm. Lee, I think that's my cue to head to bed. Devin, I think so too. She, before you. Liz, nighty night, exhaling. Devin, everything okay? Her gaze Liz, just, it's been a good summer. You nodded. Liz, love you baby brother. Good night, I love you too. Bye, old, you gave her bye. You gave her a hug. You, when I wanna relax first. I wanna finish getting Mom, okay. Ma came.
Love
Ma,
you.
when you were done hugging Ma.
I
Ma,
love you.
good night. I love you too. They both could. Mom, Ma, Devin. After. Mom, and don't let the bed bugs bite. You heard. Time had. It was a good rest. Your feet brought. As if. Wanna hang out on the hill tonight? Something. Yeah. You went over to the front door and. Then. With. Up ahead at the. Smiling. Then again.
You
And maybe it was
forgot to
only.
ask that.
After all these years. It would be weird to scan this. The distance between you. You took your place. Same as you'd
Devin.
done on countless times. He had officially. Cove. There's something I've always kind of wondered about. He cocked it. Cove. What did you think about when we met? He chuckled, the way his gaze, luckily for Devin. Well, I remember noticing the neon pink cast you had to wear that summer. Cove burst. Cove, I guess that's fair, it did kind of stand out. Smiling, Devin. I also remember trying to cheer you up. Cove, I remember that. He ran. Cove,
I mean...
do you remember what you thought about me? I wanted to get to know you. I didn't know what the feelings were at the time. I thought you were special. I just worried about you I don't really remember. I thought you were special. Cove brought... Cove. Oh.
Well...
Thank you for feeling that way. He scrunched his eyes. Cove. That sounded weird. Cove's... It was... Still. He gave a... Cove. I feel bad now. Devinv. You didn't like me. Cove. No. It definitely wasn't that. Cove. I remember you that day. I remember it really well. Cove. I can picture the way you looked back then when Cove. I still know the expression on your face when you chose to sit with me in the grass. He chuckled Cove. You scared me at first. Cove. You were a strange person in a strange place, but, in that moment, you were exactly what I needed. Cove. And you listened to me, you stayed with me. He sighed. Cove. I was, a little bit spoiled growing up. You let him continue, a little. Yeah, you were, it wasn't bad. He looked up. Cove. What I'm trying to say is. Cove. When I was younger, I viewed myself basically as the center of the universe. Cove. Things didn't simply happen. That would be weird. He sought. Cove. So at the time, you felt almost unreal. Cove. Like, you weren't just anyone. Some other kid who happened to live in that neighborhood with your own whole life that wasn't connected to Cove Holden. Cove. No, to me, you. Cove. Though, it turns out you were there for that. You were trying to find me because something had sent you specifically to do that. I just didn't expect it to be. Cove. I get. He chuckled, shaking his head as he shook off the thought. Cove. I'd be back in my bed at home, my real. Cove. The future was something I couldn't picture anymore. Cove. And if I couldn't imagine it, how could I think it was something actually happening? Cove. So, I never thought I'd see you again. Then Cove beamed at you, his Cove, and I never, ever would have been able to guess that 10 years later, when I was a grown-up, the two of us would still be together. I'm so glad I met you. It's hard to believe it's been so long. Cove. But the Cove. That was the worst day of my life. He held a hand.
It's
Cove.
Okay.
But that was never really true. His eyes. Cove. So, when I remember that time right now, it's not the point that my life was over. Cove. It was only the moment that I met the man I love. Cove. When I was crying to a stranger over what I thought I'd lost, I didn't have any idea that he would be the one thing in the world that I actually wouldn't be able to live without. I love you. I never want to lose you. I love. He took in. Cove. I love. Then you hugged him. You Cove sighed. Cove. Hey, Devinv. Cove. I'm so grateful you always took care of me. You didn't even know what to say back to that. His heart. He tilted it. Cove. I wonder how late it is. You could just use your phone. You could still text your dad. You could still text your dad. My moms might care, but you wanted to make sure you could.
I know.
Cove. Sure I could, but I'm probably not gonna. Devinv, are you going to lay in the grass now? Cove. Wow. How'd you know? Devinv, you're predictable.
Yeah, how about
With the You stayed standing. You sat down. You sat on Cove's chest. You also laid on your. Cove. Why are you doing this? You simply. The Cove spoke. Cove. It really was late. Your neighbor. This unexpected. Cove then propped himself up. Cove. Do you want to go back home? Cove. I could carry you. Devinv. No, I want to stay here. You couldn't resist. Cove chuckled affection. Cove.
I get it.
Okay. But, it's been a long day. I know, you're right. Since when were you okay with things ending? That made it. Cove. Since you made me feel better about it. Cove. Cove smiled. In that moment you situated yourself to be comfortable. You. Good night. Good morning. He gave you,
Good
Cove.
night.
Good night. A few.
See you tomorrow.
Your eyelid, you were. It was not the day welcomed. You cupped your face with your
Devin.
hands as you, hearing your name. He had made himself very comfortable. Cove, good morning. Devin, it's not really the morning anymore. Cove laughed. Cove, told you I'd see you tomorrow. It's the exact same day. Pretty safe bet. Alright. Good, alright. Good for you. Cove, smiling. Cove turned his head up. Cove, looks like it's gonna be a nice day. He trailed off, blinking slow. Cove, someday. Cove, what will we feel when we look?
It's
Cove,
nice.
I can't see what the future is gonna look like again, but I think that, Cove, I can't see what the future is gonna look like again, but I think that's alright.
I can is adorable. I can is adorable. It's a whole new. I can is adorable. My ears. I have to. Hold on. Hold
Cove,
on.
I can't see what the future is gonna look like again,
Let's bring it
but
out a little.
I think that's alright.
You guys see my ears? You live me ears? Of course I can.
You're way too sentimental. Pretty sure I'm gonna have forgotten all about I think it'll mark another new start for me. Cove's eyebrows. Cove, that's a good one. He eyed the hill sprawling. You're home. And Cove, lay down at the bottom. Cove, hey. You laughed, amused by the wager that reminded you. Cove, as much as I like it here, it's okay if we leave now. Cove, we can always come back to see the poppies. Cove met your. Right. It really is gonna be another nice day. He didn't know, though, you didn't need to see his face to know that he adored you. If, Cove, you're one of a kind. Cove beamed, yet you couldn't help but glimpse that boy once more underneath his bright expression and matured features.
He's wearing no shoes. I forgot he said he doesn't wear shoes. I forgot Cole. I forgot Cole. Cove. I forgot Cove said he wears no shoes. I forgot he said he wears no shoes. I forgot he even says he wears no shoes. It's cute though.
Yeah,
Come
Cove. He offered. Cove, our parents probably aren't gonna come running for us this time. Cove, there's more out. Cove, there's more out there for us than this time and this place alone.
Of course.
The end as the life take. Developed by G.V. Pat, Caitlin Clark, Address, Yuan, Canon, Red Robotics, Soundtrack, Elena and Corey Clarks, Tiffany Zachary, Elijah No Looks, Victor and Al, Omega, Lumen, Lestenac, Karen Taylor, Kate, Nick, Gabe and Elizabeth, Cagersty Girl Got Game Mason M. Haley Lip, Tanya, Catman, Gabig, Engine. Thank you for playing. Face shape, skin tone.
I like my face shape.
Eye color. Face shape. Face shape.
I'm gonna stick back
skin.
to 1
Face shape.
or 2.
Face shape. Face. Face shape.
I'm changing it up a
Face
little
shape.
bit.
Face shape. Skin. Face shape. Skin tone. Eye shape. Eye color. Face shape. Face shape.
That's when I changed my hair to. My hair returned back to black mostly. Back to this color.
Face. Face shape. Face shape. Face. Birthmark. Select. Selected. Birth. Selected. Birthmark.
I kept my freckles.
Selected.
I don't have freckles anymore.
Select.
I only have them right here on my cheeks,
Birthmark.
not on my nose.
S scar.
And I definitely don't wear glasses. Sure.
Birth.
Don't wear that.
Birthmark. S arm, leg. Ring, tattoo, S arm, leg. Ring, tattoo, ring, tattoo. Ring, tattoo, S arm, leg, chest, back, torso, headscarf. Ring,
I don't have a tattoo at the moment.
ring, tattoo, S arm, leg, chest, back, torso, headscarf, nail length, nail color. Ring, tattoo. Ring, tattoo, S arm, leg, chest, back, torso, headscarf, nail length, nail color, nose ring, divinv. Comfort, love selected. Direct selected. Begin step 4. Casual, hair. Casual, hair, glasses, earrings, tattoos. Casual. Casual. Casual, hair. Casual. Casual. Casual, hair. Casual. Casual, hair.
Let's give him permission to the ocean, though. Because I know Cove likes the ocean and stuff. Seeing as we're in Big Shallow.
Casual.
Okay.
Casual. Casual. Casual, hair. Casual, hair. Casual. Casual. What is Cove's initiative for step 4? Middle initiative, high in. And so, your days growing up in the loving cradle of Sunset Bird came to an end.
Sunset Bird came to an end. Okay, that'll be step 4, Sunset Bird coming to an end. I do need to screenshot the ending of Sunset Bird, but this will be episode 5.